some installation. Some people start to play with it. Some other people use MetroPress. This is amazing. This is cool because it's the first workshop from a series of maybe 2-3 workshops, and this was really the intro one. So we were not expecting people to already start building apps. So I'm pretty happy to see that some of you already started to build some stuff, and this is great. I really like those workshops because I'm probably learning more than all of you in the room. Even if I know Windows 8, some people just got questioned that I said, oh, I don't have the idea, I need to find it. So I'm always learning new stuff. So thanks to you. Thanks for staying all day, even this afternoon. I know this is Sunday, we're all coming back to work or school tomorrow, so it's not always easy to sit down and listen to someone or just trying to code, whether you would be able to do this at home. But very nice space, very nice, beautiful, sunny. Okay, it's not sunny outside. It's raining and a lot of snow, so you need to stay here. But I told you this morning we have a second talk today. Unfortunately, it's going to be me. So you're going to be stuck with me for the next probably 1 hour. I'm not a designer. But this talk is really about designing good Windows 8 app store application or Windows Store application. It's not just about design when we're thinking about the interface. It's really about creating a great experience for users. Well, I will try not to tap too much on the table. So for those of you that were not there this morning, my name is Frédérick Harper. From Montreal, as you probably already noticed, in relation with who you are thinking now. I try to say this all the time just to be sure that there's no misunderstanding of my last name. If you want to tweet, F Harper, LinkedIn, blog, whatever you want. So, when we talk about a great Windows 8 application, there is basically 8 elements. We're talking about using the Microsoft style design. So I'm going to come back a little more on all of these. So I'm not going to talk about each one now. It's just to give you an overview of the next hour, my next presentation. We're talking about fast and fluid. I told you, you're gonna hear a lot fast and fluid during that day, during the next workshop. Every time you think about Windows 8, you're gonna see this fast and fluid things. We're talking about snap and scale beautifully. So the snap mode that I showed you this morning, really important. Scale beautifully because we target many devices. Use the right contracts. So the share, the search one, the setting contracts, and any other contracts. So you need to use those to give a great experience. Invest in a great time. I want to come back on this. Feel connected and live. Room to the cloud. Cloud computing. This is a really, really cool stuff, and you need to think about it when you're building your application. And last but not least, embrace the Microsoft design principles. So I want to come back on those. Really important, 8 great threads, 8 great points about creating a great Windows 8 application. And to be totally honest with you, like those are based on what we did when we created Windows 8, but some of them could apply to mainly all platforms. So those are not totally only specific to Windows 8. Microsoft design style. I told you this morning, I'm going to repeat this, content before Chrome. And for those of you that just joined us, it's not about the browser, it's more about everything that the user don't really need all the time. At the beginning, just a little bit before Windows 8, we asked people, so what is Windows for you? Would you like to draw me Windows? And they did. They draw the close button, the maximize, minimize, the title bar, the start menu with the apps, and everything that was not basically content. They draw all the window, all the Chrome. So at some point, I suppose there is a team at Microsoft that said, there's a problem now. Like, of course, Windows, all those things are part of Windows. But as I told you this morning, sorry for the people that just joined us because I'm going to refer a lot to my presentation this morning. But as I told you, like when I'm using an application, there's only 1 or 2 things I can do, nothing much. Create contents or consume contents. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. This is one or the other or both of them, but this is basically like why application exists. So when we think about Windows and we think about everything that is not content, maybe we missed the point. So it's why we redesign Windows. And when we come back with our wireframe with Windows version and we ask again people, they were drying the ties, they were drying the contents. So it's why you're going to see the start menu that you have here. I don't have a lot of options. It's all about content. It's all about my apps. I have my live ties with all my information. When I open an application, I have all my information. I don't have a lot of features or options. They're all there, but they are there when I need them. If I right-click, open the app bar, I'm going to have different options. If I'm going in the churn bar, I'm going to have the same option in all applications, but you're going to decide if you implement those two, and you're going to decide what you put in settings. So you have access to those, but whenever I need those. If I show you another application, you're going to see also the difference. If I go to Contextual Cookbook, I have all my recipes here. If I right-click, I have access to my app bar. I have those options, but I don't need them all the time. So they hide when I don't need them, and when I need them, they're there. So this is one of the principles of Windows 8 application. So, like I said, using mostly all the pixels you have on screen to put content, really immerse the user in the things they love. I'm not a big fan of having PowerPoint with a lot of text because you can basically read those, but I think that those are really important. Leave only the most relevant element on screen to minimize distraction. Put the content. Everything you don't need, remove it. Everything you can integrate in the interface, do it. About layout. When you're building your layout for your application, give some content breathing room. Give some space between the content. You're going to see, at some point, you're going to say, okay, Fred, you just told me use all the pixels to put content. After this, you tell me leave some space, so use some pixels to leave some space and have my content breathing. It's both. I think it's both. I don't know for you. When I'm opening an application, there is like too many options and too many content on the screen. At some point, it's like too much. I would prefer something more cleaner, something more simple. When I'm going to have like my content is going to have space to breathe, and it's part really on the way that we're talking about design when you're building Windows 8 application. So there is intentional space in your application, and we can remove everything that is not so critical and so important. So let me show you an example. This is RSS feed readers. So for those that don't know RSS, this is a way for me to get data from a blog, from a website, and that's going to give me some articles off my website. And basically my RSS reader, what I have here, I have on the left, I have all the feeds that I'm subscribed to with some folders, categories. If I'm looking for one of the feed, I'm going to have all the headlines or all the articles part of the feed. And I'm going to have some menu on the top. I'm going to have my content for my article here, and a lot of great options. Can you tell me what is wrong with this app? If you don't know it, we stop the presentation now, and we'll go back at home. Yes. Oh, yes. And I would say that the problem is not about 3/4 is the navigation. The problem is on the other way. The content only take 1/3, less than 1/3 of the screen. So when I'm using this application, most of the time is to read the article. And what is the space on the screen to read the article? 1/3 of the screen. So for me, there is a problem. So what we're going to do, we're going to start during the presentation to try to change a little bit this application and taking in mind all the design principle of a Microsoft application. So if I do this, just this, the only thing I did, let me try again. The only thing I did is that I removed some lines. I just used a little more color to do separation between contents. Do I really need the line that was there to separate the feeds and all the article? No. For me, just this little modification in my UI give me a better application, a cleaner application. It's already a better application for me. And I did not change anything. The only thing I changed is I removed the Chrome that was not necessary for my application to run, for my user to understand how to use my application. So little change, remove some part of the Chrome, still have a good application. For me, the UI is already a lot better. So first change. Take this application as an example. This is a music player. Most of the time, do I really need something else than this? I have a picture background, probably from a show from Gorillaz. I have the title, I have the music album. I'm at 1 minute 9 seconds into the music. And probably in that case, if I want to move to the next, I'm going to do a right click, I'm going to have the hot bar, and I'm going to move to the next application. I'm using all the screen. There's not a lot of like really important information there, but I have everything I need. And for me, it feels like the application feels a little bit cleaner. So this is one of the examples of the kind of layout we're trying to achieve. And you will see this in all Windows 8 applications. You will start the application, and you will see that, yes, we're asking you to use all the pixels to put the content for the users. But when you don't need to put some stuff at some place, just don't put it. If it's not something critical, remove it. We used to say that I forgot what I used to say, but at some point I may come back. But yeah, so this is one way of thinking about your application. One of the other things when we think about layout is to really use the typography to create some kind of hierarchy in your content. So you're going to be able to use with fixed set of size and weight and color to create this kind of hierarchy in your application. Without having to have those titles and those prompts that's going to separate the content, you're going to be able to do this. And what is great is that when you're going to start your project with Visual Studio, those templates already give you CSS that's going to give you those default style sheets. So if you do an H1 in HTML, you will already have a typography. I think it's 42 pixels of 8. So this is what we suggest you. Maybe you're not going to be able to see it right. But basically, we suggest you like the header 42 points, sub-header 20 points, all the navigation and the small sub-header is going to be 11 points, and all the text or information that's not going to be the primary text could be 9 points. So what you're going to see in most Windows 8 applications is that those people are going to follow these rules because it's already there in the CSS. And if I'm showing you this application, there is no Chrome. So this is a lorem ipsum. You got this when you use not the grid template, but I forgot one of the templates in Visual Studio. And if I look at this, I already have a kind of hierarchy. I know what things are. I know that collection title lorem 0 is my title. I know that I have a subtitle. I know that I have different categories, and maybe those one are little information like maybe categories of blog posts or specific elements or keyword of a recipe. And I did not use Chrome. I did not use anything that will give me a kind of hierarchy in my application. I'm just using typography to give this view to the user. So it's really not complicated to use. 42 points, 20 points for the subheader. 11 points for my main content, my contents that I want to include in my application. And I have those kind of little more information, metadata in my application is going to be 9 points. So in that case, that's going to be a lot easier for the user. So if I take back my application, I did a couple of changes in my application just to put everything on like one axis. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change the character, the police, the points, the size of the typography. So first, I change the typography. So this is the same application. I changed the background also. So this seems to be a bigger change, but I just changed the background, changed the layout a little bit, and had the typography. So now I have my title, I have my subtitles, I have my categories, and it's still really an interface that is really clean. One of the other things is that on the web, we're used to pan and using usually single axis is going to be in vertical. What you're going to see in Windows 8 applications is that most of the time we're going to pan the data horizontally. So you're going to be able to swipe from right to left to really read the content. And this is important because I wouldn't like to be on my computer and have to scroll from top to bottom and right to left. So basically, you're going to choose one axis most of the time, and not most of the time. You should choose an axis horizontally, except if I'm going portrait. Maybe in that case, I'm going to scroll vertically. But if you keep this in mind, you're not going to be lost with the content going everywhere. And even on the website, I don't know for you, but I don't like the website where I have to scroll horizontally and scroll vertically. So this is one or the other. In that case, what we are suggesting to you is to scroll horizontally. And let me show you what's going to happen in that case. So I'm getting back my own content here. What I'm going to use the layout. That's going to give me the opportunity to drill down with my information. So what I did there, I removed all the big content because I know that I have categories on the top. I have different articles. I have some kind of, what do you call this, kind of abstract of my article. But most of the time, what would be great with article or recipes, most of the time is the picture. I'm going to watch at the picture. If that looks good for me, if it's something that I want to try, if it's an article that I want to read, I'm going to be able to click on this and read it. So what I did now is that I have my different picture from my blog post. I have my title. And what you see at the right is that I have the feeling that here I have a bad designer that just cut off stuff on my screen, or I have more content to scroll on. So I don't see any scroll bar, but I know that in that application, I'm able to scroll like this to see the next content. So I did a couple of changes. I removed all the text. You can't keep the text. I'm not saying don't put text on the first screen if you have subcategory. I'm just telling you that in that case, that's going to be a better experience because I'm going to go to the content. I'm going to go on something visual. Most people are visual. I'm going to click on those, click on my title, and I'm going to be able to drill down to go to my content. One of the other things that we have different template, different structure for you in Visual Studio. So this is one way to display information. And when I told you about giving space to breathe in your application, giving room to your content, what you're going to see in most applications, you're going to see something like this. So I'm going to have space at the top left corner before my title because I want my content to breathe. I don't want my user to have too much content on the screen. I want my user to have mostly all content before Chrome. But I also want space between the elements to breathe. And you're going to see this on mostly all applications. If I'm looking at all these applications, this is the same thing. The title is going to be basically at the same place. You're going to need, I don't remember the pixels. I don't know if I have them. Yeah, so between the page title, I'm going to have 100 pixels from the top to the end of my title. I'm going to have 140% pixels before starting to display my content. And I'm going to have a left margin. So in that case, when I'm looking at this application, I have the impression that I have more space, that my application is breathing a little more. So yes, I can have a lot of content on my application, but I have some space between my elements, between my different elements. And you don't have to take notes on this, because if you start with the basic templates that we have in Visual Studio, you will already have this in your template. Not with the blank one, but if you're following the tutorial step by step, they're going to teach you how to do with CSS to move the title, to give some space, to give some margin in the CSS with HTML inside your actual template. I already talked to you. One of the other part in designing a great application is the interactions part. Integrate comments into content. So you know when we call, I'm not a subject matter expert on this, but when we call, like, I think natural user interface to try to remove comments from the UI and we're trying to integrate this inside the content, there is a way for you to do this. Sometimes this is not possible, but sometimes this is. If I'm looking at this really LOL dummy application, so I have, it's probably a shopping application, and I have different categories of things that I can buy to the store. When I look at this, I have those arrows in my application that basically tell me, okay, Fred, if you want to shop for a gift for kids, click here. This is good. Do I really need those arrows in my interface? If I do this, do you think that I'm able to understand that if I want to buy GIF for kids, I need to push on that button with my mouse or with my finger on the touch device. So in that case, I just removed an element that was maybe, I didn't need that element in my application. And you're going to see this with the basic template also. You're going to have different template, and you're going to be able to drill down from one page to the other page, and you're not going to have like specific elements that's going to tell you this. That's going to be part of the content. That's going to be part of the template. Other way to integrate comments inside the interface. If you take the weather hat, one thing that, let me come back a little bit. One thing that happened in Windows 8 that I really like is that if I check at that screen, I can see my next appointment. I can see that I missed an event in Montreal. I can see that I have 3 Windows applications to update. I can see that Kevin is tweeting like crazy since this morning. I can see the weather in Montreal. I can see that I did not walk enough today, and all these kind of things. And don't laugh. And I don't have to fire up those applications. So one thing that I really like with Windows 8 is that when I tell you it's all about content, it's not just all about content inside the application. It's all about content all the time. And I totally understand this because what I want when I'm on my computer, it's content. So I'm going to do the same thing also inside the application. If I take the weather hat, I'm going to have a little pop-up. If I want to add a city, I only had Montreal in my application, and now I'm in Toronto for the weekend. I want to add Toronto. I'm going to click Add City. Of course, I would be able to have a full screen page. It's going to give me the opportunity to enter the new city that I want to have in my weather application. Do I really need a full page? What will I put in a full page? And in that case, if I'm using this pop-up, I still can read the weather for Montreal. I still have access to my information by doing something else. Why? Because I really put the comment inside the interface instead of having the comment that like take all the place in the interface. Same thing in Windows directly. If you're locked in Windows, you can change the account. If you have many accounts in your screen, you can lock the screen. But by doing this, I still have access to the rest of my interface. So I would be able to read something on the live tile by trying to change my username, and I'm really integrating the comments inside my application. Look at that game. I think this game is the Impossible game. Really nice game. I played a little bit on, I didn't try it to Windows 8, but I played on Windows Phone and iPhone, and this is just a game that makes me crazy. The only thing I have to do is make this little guy jump. I could add a button written jump, or with up arrow, or anything that would make this little guy jump. Now I only need to touch the screen. That makes this guy jump. Will I use some space in my screen to put this jump button? I don't need to. It's a simple game. I only have one thing to do. Make this guy jump. I don't need to have this button on my screen. So this is a great example. Of course, I have the pause one, because it's obvious. Where will I push to have the pause button? I will not swipe from down to left to have the app bar, and after this press pause, because my guy will probably hit the rock right after if I cannot pause right now. Or for making this little guy jump, I can integrate this inside of my application. Another thing is about leveraging the hedge. So you know that in Windows 8, I've shown you a little bit this morning, you have the charm bar. You know the bar that I'm showing you when I swipe from right to left on the right side of my screen, or I do this with my mouse on the bottom of my screen. And I also have the app bar. The app bar is where I'm going to put all my comments from my application that I don't need to display all the time. So let's get back to my not so really nice RSS reader. So let's go back to this one, nice one. So in that case, you look on the screen. The only thing I have is content. I have nothing more. But there is probably a chance that I want to do more than just read contents. Maybe I want to add a new feed. Maybe I want to refresh the feeds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to swipe from bottom to up on the bottom of my screen. Or with my mouse, I'm going to do a right click. Or I'm going to, there is also a keyboard shortcut that I forgot. But I'm going to be able to show the app bar. And with the app bar, I'm going to have the option that I need. I need to add feeds. I want to refresh the content. Those options are there. I'm not telling you don't put any features in your app. Nobody will use your apps if you don't have the features they need to. What I'm telling you is that do I really need to have the add feed button at the top of my application all the time? It was not a real question, but you can also answer it if you want. I don't need to have this. Do I really need a refresh button all the time? No. So they are there. They're there for me, for the user, whenever they need those options. Same thing for the churn bar. Do I really need to have the setting buttons all the time or the search? Let me tell you a little story about search and my French accent. I have a lot of problem to say search, and most of the time it sounds like church. So a little bit crazy for an evangelist, but okay. Sunday afternoon, it's okay. So I have the churn bar. It's there when you need it. When I don't need it, I'm not taking space on the screen. So a really nice option. What is great also, I'm going to come back on this, but there is also contextual app bar. So I can launch the app bar on a specific moment to do a specific task. Look at this application. What is this application? It's a picture viewer, probably. Actually, I don't even know. I think it's a picture viewer. It looks like a picture viewer. So I'm looking to this nice picture. Do I really want to miss like half of the screen because I have 10,000 options to modify my picture? I'm going to leave the ambulance to the noise. I'm going to finish after. No, okay. So I have my picture application. This is nice. I take all the screen to read my application. Oh, when I'm doing a right click or I'm having the app bar, I'm going to be able to start the slideshow. I'm going to be able to set a title or set a tile, set a lock screen. I have a couple of features, but they're not there all the time. They are there only when I need them. Even the navigation bar on the top, like the back button to go back probably to my folder with all the pictures, I don't need him all the time. So if that makes sense for my application, I can just hide it. And when the user is going to show the app bar, I'm going to have my navigation bar on top also. There is another way for you to do this. Same thing when I'm on high. So actually, this is Internet Explorer. There is no way for you to tell this. Because what's happened in my application, what I want to do with the browser is to read content, to consume content, to write content. So my browser is not in full screen. It's just a Windows 8 apps loading a web page. When I need more stuff, I'm doing a right click, I have my app bar, and this is a special one because I have the link, I have my tabs on the top. But do I really need to have the tabs all the time? Maybe sometimes. Yeah, maybe sometimes I have the feeling that I need all the tabs, but I'm going to use the desktop version of IE. But in that case, if I'm browsing on the tablet, I'm just reading some articles and stuff, the content is not there all the time for me. What is great also is that with the app bar, you can also have contextual comment. So if I'm getting back to my my RSS feed application, so of course I have my app bar. This is cool. I also have a new option in this one. So I have 3 options, and this is not specific to one RSS feed. This is for the app. I can add feeds, I can remove feeds, I can refresh my feeds. What can I do? I can select a specific article. What's going to happen is that I decide that those 3 are still relevant, and this one is specific to what I select here. So you can have contextual even comment in your app bar depending on what you're trying to achieve. So in that case, I don't want to put read out. So it's just the one that I selected. When I selected this option, I had a contextual option in my app bar. So now I can set this one read. And I would be able to select more than one also. So I would be able to, I'm going to decide how I'm going to do this in my application, how I'm going to manage this, but it's just to let you know that I am able to have these contextual menu. And same thing here, getting back to this example that I had before. Like these buttons, these 3 buttons that are good for all options. This is why I'm telling you, like trying to remove those things that we don't have to need, we don't have to have those in the UI. So I remove those and I put them in the app bar. So when I'm going to select 1 or 2 things, I'm going to have those elements in the app bar. Way cleaner. I don't have these 3 icons on all the categories in my application. So I think I said enough about this. Like if you can remove things that don't have to be on the screen, put your comments in the app bar, please do it. That's going to give you a better application, and it's going to give a better experience to your user. Another option that you can use by using the WinJS library, I told you you're going to have some controls that are part of the libraries. One of the things is the flyout. The flyout is going to be what you use, like when you saw in the weather applications, a kind of pop-up. It's already there for you. It's going to be contextual to something. So you're going to be in your app. You want to add in-app purchase. Yeah, you want to add this to your application. So you're going to push on the button, and this flyer is going to pop up. So you're going to be able to delete photos, to buy something specific, to add a new RSS feed. Like I told you, you don't have to add this full screen thing. So you can build your own HTML pop-up, but you can also use the flyout that is a controlled part of WinJS in your application. Another thing we highly suggest to people, and this thing is really not for Windows 8. If you're doing Windows, not Windows, but web development, I highly suggest you also to, when you can display inline errors, do it. Because do you really need a pop-up to display that, oh, you forgot to enter your email address to submit that form? No, if you can do this inline, for me personally, I think that's going to give a better experience to the user. You know, when you have, like, I'm taking a web example, but you know when you have those forms with 20 entries that you have to do, and he's telling you that your, I don't know, your email is not good, and you need to find on the page where is the email. It's a lot easier when you have like one red error on top of the email box. It's going to be easier for the user to find the information on the page. So if you can do this in Windows 8 application, it's something that we also suggest you. One of the other part when you're designing your application that is important is really how you're going to manage the navigation between the different pages, between the content. What we tell you is that when you have your application, what the user is seeing now, it's the information from where he is. So I won't take space on the screen to display where all the information, whatever you would like or you would be able to go. So I'm going to focus really on the information where the user is at now, not where he might go. So as you can see on this example, so this is Contextual Travel. This is a travel application. And I have my main page with some information here. And I have some Chrome here. So I told you content before Chrome. Maybe that doesn't make sense to have those subcategories there or those pages of my application there. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe I really need to have those all the time because that makes sense for my user, that makes sense for my business, that makes sense for the application that I'm trying to build. But what I can do to get more space, I can leverage the edge, and I can put my content where I'm not going to put my Chrome where I'm not going to put any content. So in that case, I should have added a fourth line, but I would have been able to display more information on the screen just by moving what I have on the left to the top. So those are little tips and tricks, but those are very important because there's going to be, as a user, I'm going to have more information when I'm going to launch this application. There is a couple of navigation patterns that you can use right inside Windows 8 that are already there for you. So there is the hierarchical. I really have the problem with this one. Hierarchical. You have the first one. So this is a way to drill down between. I hate so much this word. This is a way to drill down from information. So remember the recipes apps that I have. So if I go to the recipes app, so what I'm going to have on the first screen, I'm going to have some categories like Chinese food, French food. I don't know for you, I'm going to go for French food. So if I click French, I'm going to have all the kind of French meat that I can have and some information about the food from there. If I click on a specific food, I'm going to go on another level on the information. So this will be really specific to this quiche Lorraine. So you're going to have like under information, it's really a way to display the information of your application. And this is, I would say, probably one of the most popular way to display information in Windows 8 because most of the time those will be high information application. The other ones could be the flat one, you know, like IE. So I basically have one screen, or I can have many screens, but I don't really have any relation with them. Like in IE, if I have many tabs open, they may or may not have relation with these. But I basically have one screen that displays stuff, and I can switch content by using the panel that I add on the top. So if I'm looking for the hierarchical one, I have the hub. Yeah, oh my God, I'm going to stop there. I'm going to say the H content type. So with the H content type, you have the hub at the top. This is Sunday for me also. Sorry about that. So you have the hub at the top with like the high-level information, like my categories, my stuff that I put together, like the people that started to use MetroPress to build WordPress Windows 8 application. You saw that, yeah, I have my categories and my blogs and my pages, and when I drill down to my information. You're going to have what we call the spokes one. So it's going to be a little more specific, and at the end you're going to go into details. So really, the web page is going to show me all the information about a specific item. So this is one way of displaying information. You have different elements on the screen. I'm not going to read those or showcase you those. You can read more about those after. But this is one way, one pattern to display information. You're going to use different patterns depending what you're trying to do. So if you want to use the H one, you're probably going to use this one for applications that have a large collection of data. Most of the time, that's going to be for this. Something that's going to have direct manipulation, like you're going to be able to add a back button, you're going to be able to navigate between different sections. You also have the flat pattern, like I tell. It's going to be for apps that have like multiple tabs, documentation that are not totally related, or that may be related, but it's another way for you to switch between really fastly between different content. So this is another way for you to display information. One of the things, I don't remember if I shown you this morning, is what we call the semantic zoom. So semantic zoom, this is a zoom option, but it's not to really like zoom content like we are used to. That's going to be a way for you to display the same information on the screen on a different way. So if I'm on my start menu, in that case, what's going to happen in semantic zoom is that I'm going to be able to showcase mainly on my screen, but I'm going to have information or things that I'm not able to do in other cases. So if I'm right-clicking there, I'm able to change the group name of my group of application. If I do this, Contextual Cookbook is a great example. So by the way, this one I told you can download it. So if I'm going to this first screen, so I have a way of displaying information. If I do a semantic zoom, and I can do this on the touch screen by pinching to change the pinching like this and like this to get back to the main display. I can do this with the keyboard, Control plus or minus, and I can do this with the mouse also, with the control and the what do you call this? The roulette, the thing in the middle that it's the scroll. So there's many ways for you to display information. And like you see now, if I go on the Contextual Cookbook, this is the same information that I have on the screen. It's just another way for me to display this. So in that case, that happened that I only have 666 meats per kind of meat. But that would be a way for me to display how many Chinese recipes I have, how many German recipes I have in my application, because it's not something that I can maybe display easily in that kind of screen. So it's another way for me to display the information. And let me show you another example here. So you don't have to implement the semantic zoom, but if that makes sense for your application, it's another great way to display information to the user. So I have my contextual travel here. I'm going to pin zoom. I'm going to display the information in another way. What would make sense? Oh, this one is great, because just to let you know, like I said, it's not to display other information. Let me be clear on this. It's really to display the same information on another way. So if I'm getting back to this screen that I showed you before, if I do a semantic zoom, you see that these two, the spokes and the details page, they did not change. because it's not new information. This is really the same information, and this is something that I really want to be clear. I have the same kind of application of my recipes with fruits and vegetable. If I zoom, we decide that it makes sense to display that I have 14 fresh fruits and 2 vegetables in my application. So it's just another way to showcase the information. So you don't have to do the squares, you don't have to display the number. You can do whatever makes sense for you. If I'm going to the Windows Store application, you're going to see that they're not doing a lot of things. They're just giving you another view on all the application that's going to fit more on your screen. And there is also this little minus sign here that I can click. So the only thing that changed is that they use the semantic zoom as a real zoom in that case. So I can just display more application on my screen instead of the normal view where I have all my applications. So this is basically the same information but displayed on another way. Fast and fluid. Did I say fast and fluid today? I'm going to continue to say fast and fluid. One of the important things, and those are like together and separate, like your apps need to be fast. When you want to deploy, to submit your application to the store, you're going to have what we call the WAC tool, the WACK tool. That's going to test your app locally to see if your app is fast enough, like the boot time. But when you're going to submit your app, there's going to have someone somewhere at Microsoft that's going to test your app, switch between pages to see if your UI is responsive. So it's why when you're going to build Windows 8 application, you're going to see things like asynchronous call, because we want you to deal with data and don't affect the UI, so the user can continue to use your application or continue to use the system without like being stuck in your application. So this is one thing. We don't want like really slow app. Sometimes you need to do a lot of treatment around data. You need to manage it so it feels like there is something that is happening, but the user can continue to do their stuff. Even if it's not in your application, you just can continue to use the system. If your application is too slow, that's not going to work. That's not going to pass the certification. But there is also the fluid part. The part that your application needs to be in motion. And it's why I told you this morning you have the choice to use mostly WinJS or not. But if you use WinJS, what's going to happen is that you have a lot of animation part in the library. So you have some animation that you can use in your application that's going to give a more fluid feel from your application. So look at this. If I'm getting the charm bar without any animation, there's something weird. Like it feels like it's cheap and it's like there's something wrong with this. Same thing if I would change between 2 pages, no animation, it feels a little bit weird. If I go to the real, did you see that there is an animation? It's going slow and it gives me a better feel. When I go in an application and I switch pages, if I use the Contextual Cookbook, we use the animation library. So I'm scrolling there. If I click there, there's an animation when I'm getting back to the content, when I'm going out to the content. So for me, that gives me a better experience. That feels less, let's say, shitty than maybe some other applications that are not using animation. You don't have to use the animation part of the WinJS. You can build your own. I'm a lazy person. They're there for me. I'm going to use the animation library part of WinJS. And it's why I told you also with all the controls that you can use. There is some that are already available in HTML. So this is not something that Microsoft invented in Windows 8. But the one in Windows 8 got already the animation library that you can use with them. They're already made for touch devices, things that are not necessary. The same for HTML, other HTML elements. If I'm trying to get a keyboard, it's like, oh my God, what's happening? I have the keyboard in my face. So there's no animation. This is not interesting. And you're sitting down in front of me and say, okay, Fred, seriously, you're going to talk 5 minutes about animation? But I really have the feeling that that changed something, that gave another experience to the user. So there is a lot of animation that's going to bring your apps to life for me. And it's really not a lot of work. So those are kind of applications that you get when you are using WinJS that you can already use easily. So app navigation, if you're using the navigation template, I think in Visual Studio, you already have an application that's going to be able to switch between pages, and that will already implement the enter page and exit page like I showed you in the Contextual Cookbook. You have animation for content. Expand, collab, peek, update badges. For selection, when I'm selecting something, you saw that when I selected a square in the other application, you saw a little like square just move a little bit down to show me that, oh yeah, okay, you did an action, you select the square. And I have a couple more animations. I won't read them all. You can go see the WinJS API, and I'm going to have access to all the libraries. Let me show you some of these. So what I did also, like I told you, I went to dev.windows.com, went to the samples place, I typed animation library, and this is a sample application that you can get with the SDK. So this is all about mostly, okay, I think at least half of the animation are there to show you how I can manage different animation. So you get access to the code, it's specific to one thing, so it's why I really like those samples. So if I'm running animation to switch between pages, you're going to see there is an animation, the content is like flowing down the page. Transition between page. I like those. I can play with those all day. No? I can do this. You can do this for the rest of the day. Showing content. No? It's way better than just having the content that pop in my face. And there is a lot of these expands, collapse things. For me, that makes your apps way better than just having something that pop in your face. So those are little details. But most of the times, those details would make a difference by, I'm going to use your apps or your app. Because yours is going to be more polished, I would say, because you're going to have all those animations. You're going to take care about all the details that maybe the other developer didn't take care of. Design for touch first. Even if you don't have a touch device. I told you this morning you have access to the simulator. You can simulate touch, you can simulate multi-touch. Design for touch. Because you never know where your app's going to be used. Now in Windows 8, it's all about all form factors. So it's about my laptop that don't have touch. But it's also about this big screen that have touch on it. It's about my tablet, my Windows RT that have touch on it. It's about my desktop add-on with my two screens that are not touch. So I need to think about mouse, but I need to think about touch. And that's not going to be just about the feature. It's going to be about the UI. So it's why we're talking about giving some space for the content. Because, I don't know for you, but with my finger, when I'm going on an application that is totally designed for mouse, with this finger, I have a hard time. So I need to have space. You need to think about the size of the button. You need to think about the size of the content. So always design for touch. And I would say that it's pretty like this for the web also. I did a conference a couple of months ago about mobile first. And one of the things I was saying to people is that design for touch, that's all. Anything that you are doing, design for touch. Will it be good for mouse people that are using mouse or keyboard? Of course. Like a bigger button, won't be a problem with my mouse. So think about those things when you're designing your application. Think about the hands and the finger. If I'm using your application with the mouse, I have no problem going everywhere I want with the mouse. When I'm going on my device here, surprise, I can use my device as a laptop. This is a little surface showcase. No, but I can also use my device like this. I'm going to use my device like this, exactly in the picture. So think about where's my content, where is my option, where it would make more sense for people that's going to use my my application with a touch device like a tablet. Where the content is going to make more sense. And it's not just about the touching portion. It's also about the interaction area and the reading area. And those are like not in the same way. So it's going to be easier for people to read content from the top to the bottom. And it's going to be on the other way for touching. I don't know for you, when I'm on, as an example, on my smartphone, I have no problem to write with the keyboard on the top. But whenever I have this option inside of that, I need to use two hands. That just make me grumpy because I hate this. So you just need to think about this when you're building your application. Snap and scale, beautifully. I will go a little bit faster on this one because I talked about it a little bit this morning about the snap view. But when you're building an application, it's like a website. Yeah, you have a resolution on your computer, but that may not be the resolution of other people. So to have your application certificate for the Windows Store, you're going to need to implement the snap view, so you don't have a choice. You need to do something, whether it's making the application pose, whether it's giving a mini game inside your application, whether it's displaying the information vertically instead of horizontally. You just have to do something. The minimum resolution, it's 1024 by 768. So this is the minimal resolution. You're not going to be able to launch a Windows 8 application if you don't have this resolution. I installed Windows 8 on one of my old notebook, and that did not happen. Windows 8 was installed, but I wasn't able to run Windows 8 application. And there's also widescreen. Today we don't have just like kind of square screen, we have widescreen very large. So we suggest you that you may start to build your application with the widescreen in mind, so you can test in the simulator if you don't have it. And after this, you're going to use CSS media queries to be able to adapt your content inside your application. But you also need to think about portrait. Like if I'm designing only for widescreen, guess what? When I'm going to go on portrait, my app's going to suck. Because I'm going to have like this little like horizontal bar with all content. I'm going to missing some part of the screen when I'm going to have nothing. So I'm going to need to use media queries to be able to support all these things. Snap, I already talked about it. So media query is very important. Already show you snapping view. Scaling, like I told you, screen size. What's going to happen is that if you build your application correctly by using media queries, by thinking about all the things that, like, if you know responsive web design, you probably already understand all those concepts. Like working with good resolution image, thinking to not trying to put fixed width. So if I have a div, I'm going to put my div inside something else. It's going to be 100% my width. Because after this, if my content is moving, my div is going to expand also. So in that case, if I'm starting with this resolution, and I change, the only thing that's happening in there, I did not have a lot of work to do. The only thing is that I need to have a fluid layout, so my content is just going to fit inside the bigger screen. So I'm not going to go deeper on the screen size. What I would suggest you is two things. Either read on responsive web design. There is some great article on a list apart or a great book from a book apart. It's specific to the web, but it's going to be useful if you're building Windows 8 application. Or you can just do like the tutorial step by step. You're going to be able to use this. What's happening? Okay, so you're going to be able to do the tutorial step by step. And in the tutorial, we're going to show you how to implement fluid layout and how to play with the CSS to manage different screen size. And I told you, very important, don't be scared. You don't have to buy 10 devices. You can use the Visual Studio Simulator to test on different screen size. So it's going to give you a great idea on how your application is doing on a bigger, on a screen that is not as big. Yeah, pixel density. I'm going to pass this one. You can read about it. Use the right contracts. I told you about the setting contracts. The contracts is really an easy way for you to leverage the Windows 8 features inside your application. So you're going to have access to a couple of contracts, file picker, the share contract, the search contract, the setting contracts, and you have also one or two other contracts that are going to help you to do stuff. I showed you this morning the settings one. So you don't have to have a settings menu inside your application. You just need to put your stuff in the settings contract. Easy to do. The user will expect to go in settings and see your settings there. So really easy to do, really not that hard. There is what we call the share contract. The share contract, you have to do basically two things. Either specify somewhere that your application is able to receive content, or that your application wants to share content, or both. You can implement both. And what's happening with this share contract is that in the past, if my application wanted to share something with another application, share information, share data. I had to basically implement something specific between my application and your application, and we're gonna create a document of specification to share that kind of data, and I'm gonna be able to probably fire your application, or you're gonna have to do a manual process, or if I had, I don't know, my RSS feed application, I wanted to have a Twitter sharing thing. So I want people to read my blog and be able to share on Twitter. What I had to do is probably learn the Twitter API and had code myself in my application a tweet option, so I can tweet from my application and send content from my application to Twitter, or just open the browser, and like there's other way to do this, but it's not quite easy. With the share contract, what is good is that you don't need to know which application is going to be able to receive your content. So there is some data type already defined for you, like text, images, URL, HTML, and one or two other type of data. And you can also create your custom one if you really want to share something specific. And what's going to happen is that Windows is going to do most work for you. So if I'm opening another sample, a source sharing application. Let me close this. So this is a, build it again. Payload file. Okay, let me try another one. So let's go on the MetroPress one, because I really like that app, not because it's my content. So I am in my RSS feed reader. That's going to load all my content from my blog. What I want to do, because it's an RSS feed, I want people to be able to, this user find a great article, I want to give him the opportunity to send an email. So you won't have to copy and paste the link, open the mail client, paste the link, and send this. And I would also like the user to send some tweet to people. So I'm going on one of the posts, the iThingy, and I go, okay, share. And what's going to happen? If I click share, Windows is going to check if my application has content to share. Because I am the developer, I decide if I want to share content. So the user is not going to be able to share content that you don't want to. In my case, what happened is probably I created a URI. And this is the content that I want to share. So I told Windows asked me, do you have any content to share? I said, yes, I have. It's a URL. So Windows is going to list all the application installed on my machine that can receive URL type of content. So why this is amazing? Like I have all my application in my computer that can receive this type of data. Why this is amazing is that as a developer, I don't have to care. I just have to say, I want to share a URL, and the user will take care of the rest. So of course, this is a little bit bad if the user has no application that can receive URL. You're stuck at some point. But trust me, all the basic type, they're going to have application that's going to be able to receive the content. So Windows is listing all the application. I just need to, let me come back to my application. I just need to select one of them. So I can use the mail one. And at that part, it's not my problem anymore. So what Windows did is said, okay, hey, the user select the mail one. Open up the mail application, tell the mail application, hey, someone wants to share content with you, it's a URL. So you said that you're going to manage this. So the mail application decide to open this HTML page and already display the content. So now what's happening is that I'm sending a URL to someone. And I can do the same thing with if I want to send this on Twitter. So this Twitter application decide that I can handle the URL type thing, and I can receive it and do something with it. So this is, I want to share data. So I just prepare my package. I'm not going to go deeper in this because this is more high-level design talk. But you can download the sample. You can use it in MetroPress. If you're doing the tutorials, you're going to see step-by-step how to do it, but this is really not complex. You're going to be able to share data without caring about who's going to get the data and having to manage everything on that side. But on the other way, what you want to do is be able to receive data if that makes sense for you. If that makes sense for your application to receive data, like in the case of my RSS feed specific to my blog, nah, I don't think I want to receive data. But if I'm doing a Twitter application, of course I want to receive data because I want people to be able to tweet with my application data coming from other application. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to register as a shared target. So I can open another sample just to show you what's going to happen. So I can register as a shared target. So that means that I can receive some information. So if I open the app manifest here, the app manifest in want to open the text version. Oh, view code. So in my app manifest, and in the tutorial, we're going to tell you how to do this. I'm going to define that I'm a shared target. So I can receive, I'm going to put the text bigger. So I define in the extension of the application. So we're going to teach you how to do this. And I'm telling basically Windows, hey Windows, I can receive data. And I can receive those type of data. So those type are predefined type of data. So I'm going to be able to receive text, URI, bitmap, and HTML. So those are the type that has my application, has this kind of application, I can receive this. So when the user is going to install this application on, when you're going to install the application on your computer, Windows is going to know that you can handle those type of data. And what's going to happen is that when someone's going to want to share information with your application, share data, just share data, Windows is going to list your application inside the list because you're going to you told Windows that you're able to manage those type of data. And why you want to do this, it's totally simple, is that you want user to use more your application, and this is one way because they're going to be able to share data with your application. That's going to mean that your application is going to be fired up more often. That's going to mean that more ads views or more paid app, or the trials just finished and you cannot share data with your application. You're going to need to buy the application. So at the end, that means for me more revenue, or at least more usage of my app. Another great one is the search one, the search contract. This is another contract that you're going to implement to do two things. Search inside your application. So when my application is open, that's going to work in both cases. So if I open a Windows 8 application and I'm doing search, the search will basically select the application that is open on the screen. So I can try to find Angry Birds because we all like Angry Birds, and there's a lot of people trying to get money in playing Angry Birds. But if I'm typing Angry Birds in my Windows Store, my application receives an event from Windows telling the application, hey, the user wants to search something in your application. The application have to manage what is going to display. So this thing's not happened by magic. This is not magic. You need to implement this. You need to tell the application that you can handle those events coming from Windows and that you're able to display something. So you're going to build this page that's going to display the result from this search. But what is great also is that if my app is closed, so if I'm looking, I don't have a Windows Store open. I'm in Windows. I'm going to try to type Angry Birds. What it's going to do first, by default, if I'm on the Windows menu, it's going to select on the app. But Windows is going to display all applications that handles search in their application. So that means basically mostly all applications. So what happened now? You always think that like you want people to use more your application. You want people to use more your application. So this is one way. I'm searching for something in my Windows, and I can basically select any application here. So if I click Store, Windows is going to open my application. My application, after this, on your side as a developer, you will have to manage this. When your application is going to open, you will be able to detect if my application has been opened because the user clicked on my application to open the application, the usual case. If not, you're going to be able to check, oh, Is my application has been opened because have been used as a shared target? So the user wanted to share something from another application and decide to share it with my application. If it's that case, I'm going to do what I have to do. And you're going to be able to detect, is my application has been opened? Sorry. Is my application has been opened because the user wanted to search something in my application. And you're going to know it, and in that case, you're going to display automatically the search page result that you decide to create for your application. Was it clear? I see some eyes like, what are you talking about? No? And I'm not going to talk about the setting ones because we talked about it this morning. One of the other design aspect that you should think about it is the type. What is the type? Actually, when I'm talking about people about, oh, Windows 8, you tell me it's about type. Windows 8, it's not about type. It's about all these design principles that I'm talking about. And part of it is those types, those squares that you see all the time. What is great with the tiles is that you can basically display some information to the user. So there is many ways for you to do this. What is great is that if I look to that screen, this is amazing. This is maybe too much. I may have too many applications that display information on the tiles. But if I'm looking at this, I know which song I was listening. I know what's going to be my next trip, or if my flight is late, I know that I'm getting poor because my investment didn't work. I can see the cool picture I took at party, birthday, or I don't know. I know that I have an invitation for a wedding from a girl that I don't know, and all these things. So this is great to have this on my application, on my Windows screen. And this is not something we did. This is something that you can do as a developer. You can implement this. So in some cases, that won't make sense. Like if I'm looking at the camera, the camera application here, does that really make sense to have a lifetime? I don't think so. I don't really have something to display. If I come back to my MetroPress one, that's not working, but I'm going to choose another one, like the weather one. I don't have to open the application to see the weather in Montreal. This is already there for me. That's going to be good for things like you saw in the Windows Store this morning. I had 3 apps that I need to update. So I don't have to open the application. This is for information that are not critical most of the time. I'm not going to say like the flight status. Maybe it's a great idea, but maybe it could be great to use a toast notification. So I'm going to show you what it is. But for non-critical information, this is great. I really like the photo one, showcasing me some of the pictures I am in my photo albums. It's just great. It's just animation on the screen. And I'm going to be able to display information here. I'm going to be able to change the images. I'm going to be able to have some information, as an example, about the number of messages that I missed on MSN or on Skype. So I have all this different information on the live type, and you as a developer can manage this. So you can do local tile updates. So when the application opens, you can manage this, but you can also do remote tile updates. So think about those as a front door to your app. And I will always get back to the fact that when you're building an application, except if it's to solve a big need that only you have, most of the time what you want to do is you want to have more and more users that's going to use your app, but you also want to have more usage per user, because that's going to mean that people's going to buy more of the application. That's going to mean that you're going to do more in-app purchase. That's going to mean that you're going to get more money from the ads. So thinking about the lifetimes, for me, it's a way for me to have my application used a little more. Like I'm going to see, like if I'm using the Fitbit application, it did not sync for a while on this computer because I probably walked more than 100 steps today. But look, if I'm see that, oh, I did not burn enough calories, I may want to click on the application and go get more information to, oh, what happened? I thought that I did a lot of exercise today. So I may not think about opening the Fitbit application for a while, but because it's in my face, there's a chance that, oh, I'm gonna open this application. So as a developer, it's gonna be a great opportunity for me to have people that's gonna open more often my application. One of the other threats, connected and alive. I don't know for you, but today, when I'm not connected to the internet, I find that there's not a lot of things I can do with my computer. I don't know for you. I like those things connected. The lifetime is one of the things you can do. So you can update the lifetimes directly without having the user to open the application. So there is a way for you. Maybe in the next workshop, if you have any interest, we can go deeper with this. But there is a way for you to do this. And what is great is that we also have toast notification for things that will be more urgent or things that will be more, you don't have the choice, it's in your face. So you're going to have these little notifications, and I don't know if I have an image, no, on the top of the screen. You can either put just some text, you can put the icons, you can put images, and this is a way for you, like I told you, my flight is delayed. It's not something I want to put in the lifetime, because there is maybe a chance that I just didn't look at my start screen in Windows 8. With the toast notification, I don't have the choice, it's in my face. I can do this for the mail application. I'm going to have a toast notification each new email I got. I just deactivate this because I got too many emails, but you understand the point. Like, this is a way for you to display information to the user remotely. So that can be you just buy something to, I don't know, to your shopping store, and you want to notify the user that there's going to be delay or I'm missing information to finish the sales, or that your new, I don't know, your new shoes just got shipped. So this is a way for you to notify the user. Don't go crazy with this, because at some point that may be annoying, but use it for important stuff, for urgent information that you want to share with the user. Room to the cloud. This cloud computing. What is great is that inside your application, I don't know for you, I have more than one device. All my devices that have Windows 8 on it. A lot of people have more than one device. Either it's like just having a computer, like a desktop and a laptop, and having a tablet. But there's a lot of chance that I'm going to use the same application on all these computers, all these form factors. So there is a way for me to share some preferences on my application, with different computer. So there is a way for me to share this information, and I'm going to use the cloud to do this. I'm going to be able to do this inside of the Windows ecosystem, because when I'm logging with my Windows Live ID, I am able to share information between different computers. Last but not least, the Microsoft design principle. Embrace those principles. Pride and craftsmanship. Be proud of what you're doing, of your application. I have the pretension to say that as developer, as designer, we're artists. We create stuff. We create art. We create application. So be proud. Do something that's gonna follow high standard. Do a quality application. There is too much fart apps on all the stores. Don't do these kind of things. Do something that's gonna solve problems. Do some things that are gonna be useful for people. Do more with less. I repeat myself. Do more with less. I can say it the third time. Do more with less. Is it clear? Do more with less. So do more. I was going to repeat myself again, but like content before Chrome. Try to minimize what you're gonna put on the screen. Put only what is necessary for the user. Put the content first before the Chrome. Be fast and fluid. Wow, I repeat myself a lot today. Be fast and fluid. Give a great experience to the user. Use the animation library to give like a real good motion to the user, to give direct interaction. This one I didn't talk about it, but it's part of the Microsoft design principle when we think about the modern UI, the Windows 8 UI. Be authentically digital. What does that mean? If I'm doing a shelf application with books, and I'm not talking about the Apple one, but it's like if I'm doing I don't know, a bookstore and I want to create a shelves, do I really need to try to replicate wood? I am on a computer. I don't have wood in my computer. So let's try to go beyond real-world metaphor and really stay on what is digital. So this is perfectly good to have a orange background in my shelf and not having a real shelf either. So think about those things. I think those kind of application, and I'm sorry if someone in the room used this to do one of your applications, but I think they're mostly like 1991 websites. This is the same thing for me. If you're using wood or metals, and I'm not talking about games, I'm talking about application. And the last one, really important. Last one, really important. Win as one. And what do we mean by win as one? Is really leverage the ecosystem, leverage the Windows 8 functionality, integrate inside Windows 8. Think about the contracts. Think about the animation. Think about everything you have with the WinJS. We did a lot of work for you. It's free. It's there. Use it. And at the end, you're going to just give a better experience to your user, and it's going to be easier for your user to really use your application, have fun, and feel that your application will give them a good return on investment. So resources for this talk. It's basically design.windows.com. So if you have any interest around those design principles, around how to build great Windows 8 apps, around touch, navigation, user experience guideline, some Photoshop templates for your application if you're more a designer or kind of integrator, you can use these things. Everything is on design.windows.com. Everything is on devwindows.com for more the technical stuff. So, again, this is me. You can take my contact, email, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Basically anything, I'm there. If you have any questions, let me know. And that's it. I think it's done. Thanks. Do you have any question, comment, insult?
How much is desktop divided from the apps? Because I see you had a Valve 2013 tile on your start already, but is there any way to share something with an application that is not already based on Windows 8 apps?
Yeah, so the question for people, are we still streaming? Yeah, okay, so the question for people online, you know that I'm lazy, I'm starting to ask you. Yeah, so the question was about sharing stuff with non-Windows 8 applications, so the Windows 7 legacy app that are working on the desktop that we all know. No, there is no way, no direct way. All the shared contracts, they're all just for Windows 8 application. So you're going to need to find another way by using your web services or by sharing a file in a specific space that you're going to be able to access from another application. But the contracts, they're really just for Windows 8 application.
Cool. Is there any other questions though? Comments? Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you again. Give a big round of applause for Fred. Good job on that one.
Thanks.
Just wanted to give a quick heads up for you guys. Thank you again for coming on out. We will be, for the next about hour and a half, sticking around for networking, having conversations, answering any questions that you guys may have just one-on-one. We'll also be doing, if you have any ideas or concepts or things you want to throw at us to say, here's an idea for an application, what are your thoughts, are there any suggestions? Because later on, shouldn't have mentioned this, don't mention it. We're going to be announcing something later on this week that'll be a longer going thing and potentially good competitions and investing into building your ideas and creating tools and assets around that. So I'm going to say stick around. If you do have any ideas or concepts or something that you want to bring up, please, we'll be here. Also, if you have an idea and you want to see if you can work with somebody else, we do have obviously a bunch of people here. You can do networking online or here. We're currently still using, and yes, absolutely, this as well. So Fred will talk about this in a second. If you do follow the hashtag Win8WS, we'll be using that hashtag for probably the next month or two. We'll be following that closely, interact with it, spread your ideas, create, and like Fred said, you really nailed it on the head. Be proud of what you build and be proud of what you do. So Cheers to that. Thanks again.
And I'm proud of you, Matt. So one last thing that I wanted to share with you. There is a contest in the city of Ottawa, and they open it to all Canada. So this is a contest around open data. This is specific to creating application, not just Windows application, any type of application that would use data from the city of Ottawa. So why it's interesting for people in Toronto, there is a couple of things. First, I think that this part is it's interesting. There's a lot of price, 38,000 in prizes, many categories, type of application. And what is great is that for people that don't know open data is basically data that are there free for use. So usually it's done by government, it's done by city, it may be done by a private company that just opened the data so people can use it to build useful software. So think about data like where is the ice skating park in Toronto. So maybe the city of Toronto has an open data feed around the skating parks, and after this, developers can just use the data to do whatever they want, which type of application, depending always on the license of these data. And what is great is that to participate, you need to create an application that's going to use the data from Ottawa. So that may not be useful for people in Toronto. But what is great with open data is that most of the time when you build your application, you can basically mostly just change the feed after. So what I'm going to suggest is that build an application that's going to use open data for Ottawa.
I think they're actually opening up to all Canada.
They open up to all Canada, but to win prizes, you can submit from everywhere, but you need to use open data from Ottawa to get the prizes. So I can be in Montreal, participate, but my application is going to be going to have to use open data from Ottawa. But what is great is that first I'm going to do this because I want to win prizes. This is cool. After this, if I'm in Toronto, I'm going to just change the feed, do some quick fix, and I'm going to have the same application working from Toronto. I will be able to do this for Vancouver, Montreal, depending if the city has the right feed. And after this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to also go on developer movement, and I'm going to submit my applications that I submit there to get 4 points. So you can, with one application, get some prizes from the apps for Ottawa. So the URL is apps4 Ottawa.ca. So you go there, you participate. The submission will start really soon. I think beginning of, I think it should start now or really soon. You can use the same apps to submit on developer movement also and get some points. And if you have any question around open data, around this contest, around developer movement, around Windows 8 development, I hope you took my contact information. If not, it's too late. So I think it's enough talking. Should be tired to listen to my French accent. No? Niall?
So thanks again, folks, for coming out to this first workshop. I hope you had a useful time here, and congratulations to Brian for winning Connect and everybody else who got their environments up and running or built an app. Or we're still here for another hour or so to kind of help you out with any other questions you've got, or if you want to work some more, feel free to do that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much, guys. That's all I have to add. So, yeah, thanks for coming out.